Hi everyone, welcome to Play Well Live. And today we are going to be doing a fun project where we're going to be building our own gears. And you can see they're all going to be made out of bricks and they can actually work and turn each other, which will be pretty cool. So before we get started, I wanted to tell you a little bit about gears and why we have them and what they do and how they can help us make things work. So what I want to do is to start with this, thinking about a machine, any kind of a machine. A machine helps us do work in some way. And so pretend like the work we need to do is turn this little yellow beam at the end of this axle right here. So we want this thing to turn. Now, if we wanted to, we could take, if we had an input, this is kind of what's providing our power. If we stuck this directly into here and turned it on, then we have power. This is called a direct drive, where we have our motor connected directly, our input connected directly to our output. But what if, for some reason, we want to have our input way over here, and we want to have this be on over here and turn this thing? Then we need to basically transmit or send the power from here to here. We call that a transmission. We need a transmission to send or transmit the power from here, our input, to our output. So let's try something. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to put a wheel on here. And I'm going to put a wheel on my axle of my input, of my motor. Now let's try this. How could I have these turn each other? Well, maybe if I touch them together, not working so well, because you can see what's happening is what? The wheels are slipping a little bit, so they're not really turning each other very well. So what we need actually in this case is friction. And I think everybody knows what friction is. Friction is a force. Remember, a force is just a pushing or a pulling, but friction is a weird force. Friction is something that works against you. So if you're trying to move in one way, let's say I'm trying to move in this direction, friction is whatever is pushing the opposite way against me and making it harder for me to move. So you know, if you rub your hands really fast together, you can feel heat. It's the rubbing caused by the friction turns into heat. Now, sometimes you want friction and sometimes you don't. For example, with a shoe, you want to have friction. Your shoes are made to have rubber on the ground, on the sole, so that when you hit the ground, you want to have rubbing because you do not want to slip and slide. You want to grip the ground, and that's called traction. It's a special kind of friction. Same with the wheels on your cars. You want to have friction. Now, sometimes you don't want to have friction. So, for example, on the saw that I showed you the other day in the other video, where we have this little carriage moving in and out of that track. When this moves, in here, we do not want to have friction because we don't want to have rubbing. We want them to slide as smooth as possible. So in this case, what do you think? Do you think we want friction or not? Let's try this. Let's try something else. We're gonna upgrade. We're gonna upgrade our transmission from smooth wheels to now rubber tires. Now let's see what happens. Let me move my shoe over here. So now if we turn this on, and we touch our input to our output, ooh, that is much, much better. Now the rubber is gripping against the other rubber, and there's a lot more friction, which prevents it from, the wheels from sliding on each other. They grip each other and they hold. Now gears are essentially just super wheels that have something special built into them, and they have teeth. We call the little spikes on the end of the gears teeth. And when you have two of these gears, the teeth, and those of you who know, have done this at home, who have done this in our classes, you know what it means when the teeth of the gears do this. What is that called? Tell your families. It is called meshing. When the teeth of gears mesh, they can turn each other like this, and there's so much gripping and grabbing, it's almost impossible for them to slip and slide. You could imagine it would be like having spikes on the bottom of your shoe that you might wear for playing baseball or football or track. So when we do this, you could see I take the teeth of these gears and I mesh them together here, and there is almost no way that, ooh, that those will slip unless I move them out of in line with each other. And you can also notice another thing, that when gears push each other, do they turn the same way or opposite way? They push in the opposite way. One gear goes this way and the other gear, it pushes the other gear in the opposite way. Now we're going to build our own. So what we need to have is, you need to have 2x4 bricks, and you need, I think, 18 of these. Then we need to have some 2x2 bricks, and I believe we need 9 of these 2x2 bricks. And then you need to have what we call a 4x4 round. And all that means is, let me show you real quick. If you took a square that is basically 4x4, like this, let me show you. If you have a square that's like this, we need a round piece that's that size. And so there's a lot of different pieces you can use. This is maybe a common one. This is a brick, a 4x4 round brick that you can see matches the same size as a 4x4 square. You could use, there are plates that are the same size, and I'll show you how you can use those as well. You could use these rocket kind of pieces, these cone pieces that also, the big part of them are 4x4 size. Or you could even use weird pieces like this, where we have this going like this. And Brandy, I don't think we started early. We just started at 10. So I don't know, sometimes there's a weird lag in the internet connection these days. So hopefully you can always go back and watch the video later if it's cutting out funny. I'm not really sure. But like I was saying, you could also use something like this funny barrel piece. It's round, and it also is in that 4x4 size for the roundness. Now, here's how we do it. We are going to be basically building these wheels. And you can see they have teeth, just like the gears I showed you. And the way we're going to do it is this. To start with, we need to make 3 of these shapes. And I'll show you how we do it. You basically take a 2x4, you stick another 2x4 up here so it's only on 2 studs, like this. And then essentially you're going to add another one on top so it mirrors the bottom. So that's sticking out, and you'll see 3 studs sticking out. And what we're basically going to do is, we're going to need 3 of these shapes like this, but we're going to need to link them together with 3 more 2x4 bricks. And the way we link them together is this. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take one of these little lids off, and I'm going to put 2 bricks on so it looks kind of like wings of a spaceship, like this. Okay, if everyone can see that shape. And then after I do that, I'm going to lock them in place by putting that one on top. Oh, shoot, I did it a little funny. I have to make sure you could see how I did this. I did this a little off. I want it to look like this side and not this side. So what I need to do is make sure, I'm going to scoot this out more. Look at this shape. That's what we want. Okay? And then I'll sandwich that together like this. So this is the hardest part, making this ring that we're going to do, the round part of the gear. Now what I need to do is, I want another one of these basically locked on to here. And so again, I'm going to have to take one side off of it, and I'm going to attach it like this. Okay, if everyone can see that. Now before I sandwich it, I want to put my other hinge here. This is very tricky, so if you don't get it the first time, you can always watch this video again and maybe slow it down. So you can see now I have this shape like this. And now I have one more link in my chain for my gear that needs to go there. And so again, what I'm going to do is take one off. I'm going to link it. And you can see it's similar to how we did our kaleidoscope the other day, how it's only on one stud. This is just a little more complicated. So there's my last link, and to lock it together, I do this. Whew! It's the hardest part. If you're able to get this, then the rest is pretty easy, okay? So now what we need to do is, we've got basically 3 teeth, but we want to have 6 teeth. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get some more bricks, and I want to make on the parts right here that don't have teeth, I'm going to stick out another 2x4 brick. Again, just 2 studs locking to that middle one. And then to make it strong, so it's not just hanging out there, I'm going to put a 2x2 brick underneath it, like that right there. And then I'm going to lock the bottom underneath it like this. So you can see really what you're doing is you're making this funny little mouth that really is this shape. You're making this shape, and it's basically grabbing on right here in between where there's no tooth. So I'll put this one on, take one edge off, stick it on there, sandwich it together to make sure it's strong, and then I'll just do one more for my last tooth of my gear. All right, so I'm gonna get this one on, my last one here, and now I have my gear. Now, if you want, you can see how these teeth are really thick. These ones are a little thinner. So if you want to, what I like to do is grab a few more 2x2 bricks, and on the first teeth that I made that are only 1 brick thick, I'm gonna make them 3 bricks thick like these so they push a little better. And I'm just gonna stick one of these 2x2s on the top and one of these 2x2s on the bottom like this, okay? So you can see how that works. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on all of the other teeth. Hi, Stacy. Now I need everybody you gotta let me know, because I'm seeing some crazy lag on this where I feel like I start right at 10 o'clock and some people hop on and it's starting later or whatever. So please just leave me a note or a comment and we'll try to do the best we can to figure it out, because I know a lot of people are on the internet these days and everything might be a little slow. So you gotta let me know, otherwise I don't really know if things are working or not, okay? So what I did is I am pretty much done. So I've got my shape here, my 6 teeth on my gears, okay? Now, what you're gonna do is you wanna make at least 2 of these. And if anybody knows what a 6-sided shape is, it's kind of a magical shape. It's called a hexagon. And the reason why I say it's magical is it shows up a lot in nature. So if you want a little side project, turn it into a snowflake. These things are hexagonal, 6 sides, just like a snowflake. Most snowflakes have 6 sides to them because that's the way water molecules like to lock together. Kind of like honeycomb that bees make. It's a very efficient shape. You can see all these have 6 sides. So you could also take this same shape, turn it into a gear, or decorate it to be a spectacular snowflake. Branch each of these out and make a snowflake. Now, the last thing we need to do on our gears is we need to figure out how to make them turn. And I thought a lot about this and I was trying to figure it out because we've got nothing really to attach like a Technic gear. Where did it go? Where did it go? A Technic gear has this in the middle. It has an axle and it has a special hole in the middle. Now these gears that we just built and that I almost dropped don't have any hole for an axle, but what I found is these 4x4 rounds fit pretty perfectly inside there. And so what happens is if you put one of these down on a base plate or any plate, that kind of acts as a place to spin and support your gear. So if I put it on there, I can turn it like this. Now, like I said, you can use one of these is probably the best, a 4x4 brick. If you have these plates, if I just put a plate on, it might be too low to really hold this gear in place. So what I would like to do is I like to put a brick, like a 2x2 brick in the middle. And then I make just like a sandwich like this. And I have that, so it kind of raises it up a little bit. And then I put that down somewhere on my plate and I can have my gear. And it seems like it works pretty well. At the beginning I thought, oh, if I put this down, it's gonna stick. But it's cool because all of these are pointing different ways. So even though the straight ones wanna stick to the studs, the diagonal ones don't. And so it slides pretty well on a board like this. And the last thing you need to do is figure out the spacing of your second gear. You want them to be close to each other, but not too close. And this might just take some experimenting to see where you need to be in order to have one turn the other. And that's it. And so you can experiment. You could turn this into, I don't know, like a cool amusement park ride or something like that, where we go like this and they go around into a crazy merry-go-round. I don't know what you could turn it into. So I want to see if you can play with this and see what kind of cool creations you can make with your brick gears. And one last challenge that I want to see if anybody wants to try to figure it out, see if you can make a gear that meshes with one of these gears. Thank you, Aloma, for coming on again. See if you can make a brick gear that meshes with one of these gears but is bigger or smaller, because that can change how fast they turn and how much strength they have. So thank you so much for hanging out and watching. Hope everybody is safe and doing well, and I'm excited to see you next time. Take care.